Welcome. Today I will be paraphrasing, summarizing, and sharing for the January 17th Al-Anon readings in Courage to Change and a little time for myself. We'll begin with the Serenity Prayer and 3 mindful breaths. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Start with a little time for myself, as usual. Now just take a moment to look this over. The question of the day is, how do I show myself that I deserve love, respect, and safety? The passage is about someone who originally went to Al-Anon when they were 19, but nothing resonated with them, and they were in an abusive situation. So for some reason, it just wasn't the right time for them. But a few years later, when that person left the relationship, they found Al-Anon again. And they got a sponsor, they worked the steps, and then they realized how much they had been affected by alcoholism. And they realized that they had a higher power who had been with them all along. Today's reminder is telling us that practicing our Al-Anon program helps us to value ourselves and our safety. The quote is from Blueprint for Progress, Al-Anon's 4th step inventory. It's about accepting ourselves and what we've been through. So how do I show myself that I deserve love, respect, and safety? I would say I'm definitely working on this. I feel like I say that all the time, but it's true. And I think the biggest way that I show myself love and respect is that I do what works for me. So I take care of myself by I no other way to say it. I do what works for me. So that goes for everything imaginable, from the foods I eat to the clothes I wear to the amount of things that I schedule for myself. Taking care of the things that I own, how I treat the people around me, how I treat other people when I'm driving my car or out in public, in stores. Just all of that, I feel, is a reflection of how I feel about myself. And even though I continually work on my own self-esteem and feelings of worthiness, because intellectually I know I'm just as worthy as everybody else, and that we're all equally worthy of love, acceptance, all the good things that we all want. I do admittedly wrestle with that in the deep recesses of my mind. So I'm just continually working on that. But even though I'm continually working on that, I realize that it makes me feel better, much better, when I extend what I want for myself to others, which is that love, that respect, safety, feeling accepted. And I definitely know that I'm worthy of safety. I've known that for a while, but I learned that lesson because I was married to someone who had a very, very bad temper. And I thought I could kind of love that out of him. And I couldn't. I don't think anybody can change anybody else. And so I don't think that's a failure. I think that was, me being naive and just wanting to make it better. But I didn't really set a boundary until my son was born. And then when my husband was saying really inappropriate things to me in front of my son, that's when I said, enough. So I guess at that point, I couldn't really do it for me. I could do it for my son, and that I could live with. So, you know, we are where we are. I accept that that's where I was, and it took me that's what it took for me to leave that situation. And I mean, I just accept it and just work with it from there. That was a long time ago. That was uh, 20, 25, almost 25 years ago. So I have come a long way since then, but I still need to work. These things are very, very, very deeply rooted, and I continually work on it. But I am very, very happy to say that after that relationship, I was not in any kind of abusive. That was my relationship was abusive verbally. It wasn't physical. It was verbal. But I was not in any kind of abusive relationship after that. And I will not be ever again because I know I have a choice and it's not going to happen. So there it is. Moving on. I'll just take a moment to look this over. This page is about taking responsibility for our own actions, um, focusing on ourselves and our behavior. The passage begins with someone saying that anyone who was looking from a distance would have thought that this person was crazy, not the alcoholics in their lives, because they were the ones who were engaging in not not sane behavior, not rational behavior, searching for the alcoholics, making scenes, getting very overworked over little things, lying, apologizing, making excuses, resenting everything. So in Al-Anon, it was suggested to them that they look at their own life, that this person look at their life and figure out how they wanted to move forward and restore their sanity using the steps and their higher power. Oh, and it says that using the second step, that their higher power could restore them to sanity. And they found that in Al-Anon meetings, they felt much more rational. And they say that they still have irrational moments, but they know that it's their responsibility, and they have tools now within their Al-Anon program to find more sanity. Today's reminder is reminding us to focus on ourselves, and we can ask our higher power for help. Always ask our higher power for help. And an ancient Chinese proverb says, we're going to go in the direction we're headed. So if you don't like where you're going, change directions. Excuse me, I'm just thinking about the things that I did when I was in crisis, and thinking about what a huge relief it was when I got to Al-Anon, and I was reminded that there was nothing I could do to cause it, because I was just riddled with guilt and shame. There was nothing I could do to cause it. There was no way I could possibly control it, and it was absolutely impossible for me to cure it. So right there, I felt like I regained a lot of my sanity, and rational behavior was a part of that, because I didn't feel so I didn't feel such a compulsion to fix things, because I realized that they were unfixable. I was not going to be able to fix them. They weren't for me to fix. So it was out of my control completely. And that actually made me feel better, because that freed me up to just love my son. And in fact, everyone around me who didn't really understand but was trying to be supportive, and just kind of accept the situation as it was, pray a lot, work my program, and as long as I behaved in a loving way, I felt like I could live with whatever happened. And that was the bottom line. I figured, I know I have no control over it. I know what I don't want to happen, but I can't control what's going to happen. So if the worst thing in my mind were to come to fruition, at least I would have the peace that my son knew that I loved him, and that I would support him in any way that I thought was in his best interest. And I made that very clear to him, that if I thought it would be healthy and good for him, I would support it. And if I didn't think it was, then I still loved him. Nothing could ever keep me from loving him as much as I did, but I was not going to support behavior that I thought was detrimental to him. And even in his worst of times, he got it. He understood that. He didn't like it, but he understood it. So that's what this reading is bringing to my mind. And focusing on my own behavior really did empower me. It wasn't like a yay, I won, because there like were no winners. It was just a horrible situation that like we just needed to survive as whole as we possibly could. But it it empowered me in a way that like I didn't lose my will to live. And I felt like I had value because I was being loving. I don't know how else to explain that, but there we have it. We'll close out with the serenity prayer and 3 mindful breaths. Here we go. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Sending you love. Take care.